Who do you think is coming out on top of this?
Thank you, Zoe. I've got to agree with you. I love the hype up behind NYXL, but I got to go with the Outlaws. I mean, after what we just witnessed versus the Defiant, I even tweeted earlier, I was like, Violet Zen, I missed this. I haven't seen this in a while. It's been a bit. Talk about the backline out here. This team is crazy. The individual talent is going to be insane. And you know what, Necker, I also agree with Zoe out here. What better way to face off against a team than probably the best team in the group right now? I mean, the best now that they beat the Defiant currently. I mean, if you want to talk about results, but the best right now with NYXL having some pretty questionable choices with their roster. I know you got to take a look at the 4 support back lineup that they got. They have 1 tank. I mean, they're going to try to make it work out here, Necro.
I honestly think that New York Excelsior, though, has such a fantastic opportunity to be able to showcase what they do bring to the table. And yes, this is maybe one of the more behemoths in the group in the Houston Outlaws. They did put on a phenomenal performance today, but New York Excelsior still has a lot of tricks up their sleeve, and I feel like maybe that is a little bit of a surprise factor that they can bring to the table. Just looking at their roster as a whole, I mean, we get a chance to look at some of these players that have more recently moved back up. Psycho, Shockwave, good to see them again. They just came off of an all-star roster on Ex Oblivione that were able to actually take home 2 first places in European contenders. So I feel like they are here and they are so hungry to be able to get some great pickoffs onto the Houston Outlaws. We're going to see Psycho and Fitz to be able to start this off, and Creative and Left in the back line. We're kicking things off on Lijiang, though, and it's Control Center. I feel like things are about to get wild out here, Vicky.
You talk about the individual players coming into NYXL. You know, Fitz, he made his way back from APAC land, from playing with the Dynasty for the last 4 seasons. I'm excited to see how he's going to be able to play against the other Western teams out here, too, especially since the Summer goes crazy out here. But we're already starting things off. We are duking it out with the Ramantras. Nice anti coming in from Shu. That was huge. That's going to claim Left. They're going to trade that now that Shu goes down here, too. Outlaws already trying to find an opportunity. The Immortality field, though, is the different maker here that has allowed the Excelsior to now stand up in that choke point for right now before the rest of the Outlaws are looking to hold forward.
Oh, this almost looks so good here for New York Excelsior as well. The differences in their composition to be able to have the Mei as well as the Baptiste, I feel like do allow them a lot of sustainability, especially when you're able to rotate around the Ramatra shield. So Psycho able to have a lot of that staying power there with the Mei Ice Block. You've got the wall as well to shut off any avenues of retreat, but they're back into this one. Fitz with a big pick.
That was a big pick out here, too, especially from that side angle. Fitz trying to get the follow-up. Kellen now getting Violet in the process. That's happening. Violet going down for the Outlaws. Trying to get that trade ball. Kellen is just going to take a little quick nap. Finally waking up now. Fearless falling incredibly low. Just a matter of time before they finish that up. The pulse pump coming in from Pelican. Moving in. Talk about the individual tools here that Outlaws could work with. Pelican also is just insane player, and on the Tracer here too. Haven't been able to flip the point despite even taking that advantage in terms of the amount of players that were up for the Outlaws. That's also thanks to Pelican, who was able to contest in the front line.
Yeah, and Matrix here might be able to help turn things in the tide of the Excelsior. And with that too, yeah, Houston Outlaws, they just want to back off from this one. There's no point in re-engaging with that when you know that the Amplification Matrix is just going to finish off the entirety of the team. So may as well allow New York Excelsior to burn that ultimate and give Houston Outlaws the chance to regroup as a team of 5. They do have Shu's Nano Boost here, so that could help to enable Fearless to get a little bit more up close and personal here with the front line of New York Excelsior. But Happy as well can help split up the team here with the Dragon Strike.
The wall coming in, and you talk about it here, the Dragon Strike coming in as well. Kellen pops in the ult. Nemesis being activated here. Warrior running, you can't go anywhere. He puts up the barrier and he cleans up Happy. Outlaws getting deleted here in this next fight. Great look here from the NYXL, and the way that they were also able to use Cycle's wall was huge there.
Yeah, I was, but now I'm like, where's Pelican going? I think Pelican might be trying to deliver a dive bomb there onto the back line of New York Excelsior. At least he's going to get New York to pivot back to point.
Now you see me, now you don't. I mean, he did the job. Exactly what it was clear the choke point from where they were going through their spawn. Annihilation activated. Here comes the sound barrier from Violet. sustainability up and alive as the immortality field gets deleted. Thanks to Pelican and Happy here. Fearless falling super low. Here comes a pulse bomb, huge onto 11 Fitz, and the cleanup onto Creative. That's 3 down here for the Excelsior. Glenn having to run away if he can. He's in the line of sight of Pelican. He falls low. The Vortex comes out, but he can't get away in time. Great cleanup here from the Outlaws.
Yeah, I mean, the Outlaws, that was a pretty expensive fight for them. You're looking at the Sound Barrier, the Pulse Bomb, and Fearless's ultimate being used there, but it was still at least able to convert over to recapturing the point. An unfortunate miss there, I feel like, from Creative. You saw the Amplification Matrix come out, but it was at the very tail end of the fight when no one else was able to follow up on that one. Pelican is going to try to wrap around, though, as New York Excelsior try to come back into this fight for Final Fight territory.
Contested here, too. Comes a Nano Boost coming in. Nice mortality field helping out Fitz. Pelican deletes it immediately now as a Nano Boost onto Fearless puts in so much pressure via this choke point. Gonna be able to still continue on as Pelican is mowing down the rest of the NYXL. Huge anti-tier 2. Creative going down. The rest of the Outlaws are still gonna be able to stay on the points. 5 seconds left.
Yeah, Fitz is going to try to make his way back over to the point there with the Tracer to be able to blink on. He is able to activate the overtime here, but there's got to be follow-up from New York Excelsior, and it might have to come in the form of this May Blizzard.
Oh, Psycho, you need to stay alive. Another huge anti coming in from Shu. Psycho stays alive, puts down the Blizzard. Annihilation comes in. Fitz gets taken down. Creative did already used up the immortality field. Annihilation for Annihilation, and oh no, while Kellen was slept, he gets stuck with that pulse bomb from Pelican. Pelican and Fearless are looking crazy, and they clear this first round.
Okay, Pelican is just in some type of form today. Maybe looking at all the praise that the backline was getting and saying, but hey, wait a minute. Like, let me show you what I've got to bring to the table. And Pelican played such a pivotal role in so many of those fights in that first round. Either playing as a distraction in the backline of New York Excelsior. There was that one time where he was able to go back to the point and turn New York Excelsior's attention back over to the point to allow Houston to run back through. But it's also just coming in the form of forcing out that immortality field. Creative would put that down, try to save Fitz, and then the follow-up comes through after Pelican is able to take out that valuable tool from New York Excelsior's kit. We're seeing a huge swap up here, though, Vicky, as we head over to a more open territory for these teams to navigate.
Yeah, with Guard, Happy got deleted, but he gets taken out officially with Fitz now making the move over to Sombra. This is where Fitz shines. On this Sombra, we were highlighting it before, already with that first pick, and Fearless already getting hacked here too. The Outlaws are forced to put in some extra space between themselves and the rest of the NYXL, forcing this fight to be way more close quarters, and the NYXL are going to be able to come out on top with the backline already getting deleted from the Outlaws.
I mean, what a big pick onto Happy. That's taking off so much offensive pressure off the board there, with that Cassidy just being able to provide so much of that long-range damage. I mean, Fitz is just going to be able to have free reign. Already almost 60% to an EMP, and that's really where New York Excelsior can get the ball rolling and keep snowballing the current percentage that they have on the board. Fitz is going to be really working towards that. Psycho as well. Pulse Bomb almost in his pocket.
It's a really good point, too, with how quickly Fitz is able to try to get this EMP. It works into that win con with this setup, but now that Fitz gets taken down, Happy's going to try to make sure that Fitz stays in his line of sight. Shu gets hacked from the back. Pelican has that pulse bomb. Here comes the rush coming in, too, from Creative. He backs away in time. Nicely able to restabilize, but they haven't been able to push through that choke point just yet because look who's harassing their backline. It is Pelican once again. Meanwhile, Happy is going to be able to put them as the meat in the sandwich while they're trying to sandwich them on each side of the point. Nails down Kellen as he gets taken down, and the Sound Barrier now coming in from the Outlaws a little late to match out with NYXL, who won't have the health advantage here since Lep already uses Sound Barrier.
Yeah, I mean, New York Excelsior at this point want to try to stall out as much as possible before the flip eventually comes through. 53% on the board here for New York. And now we have to see how they're going to get back into this one. Fitz did get a chance to hold on to the EMP. That was not one of the ultimates that New York tried to throw. So they at least have that to be able to get in as an engagement tool. And since the Sound Barrier is off the board as well there from Violet, there isn't a whole lot of follow-up to be able to keep the team alive in terms of sustainability. So it's all about this raw damage, and Fitz is about to send it.
Oh, and catches 3. Happy is the first to go down in the domino effect. Shu manages to escape out of the line of sight, but Fearless had the primal. That was the answer back to that EMP immediately right afterwards. Yeah, they lose out on Shu and Happy, but now they get to stay on the point here with the sustainability that the primal gives Fearless. He's completely trying to isolate Creative, who's going to be able to teleport right back to the rest of his team. Help me! Fearless is right after me, and he's going to be able to put down that bubble, try to duke it out with Kelly before getting away in time to that health pack.
Yep. Ooh, a big hack there too. Still a stall coming through though from the Houston Outlaws. They don't want to give up control at this point just yet. And Fearless bought them so much time. The rest of the Outlaws are about to get back into this one. This stall has been huge, Vicky.
Yeah, this is ginormous right now with Outlaws still trickling in. Finally, NYXL could try to swift this, but it's Fearless who's been the biggest problem. Diving right back in. This is why we see usually, Whitson, when it comes to Gardens, you see the sound barrier that was used up from left. NYXL now trying to rotate on the outside, trying to force their way to finally get this point in their favor. Nearing 80% here for Outlaws, while Psycho gets 2 onto Fearless and Pelican. Outlaws are finally dropping. Fearless now going to be able to come right back in, but they get the point, and that's what matters because it took them forever to do so.
It did. I mean, this was so many ultimates being used there as well. Fearless single-handedly forced out the sound barrier, the primal rage from Kellen, the pulse bomb there from Psycho, and now New York Excelsior approaching into this 80% territory when Houston Outlaws finally make their way back in, have the Kitsune rush, and that's really it right now.
Oh, I love this position here too. The speed boost real quick, just test to get into position, and the barrier. Here comes the rush coming in from Creative again. He falls so low, no one to protect him here. No sound barrier from left. He already used it in the last fight. Violet had it ready. He gets hacked to the back line. Pelican right back on top of the point. Outlaws looking to flip this despite losing Shu, because Fearless has that primal, so he can just reset once again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at this point, too, when Kellen's going to be able to take out Happy, you really do need Fearless to be able to try to sustain through all of the damage coming in from the Excelsior. Fitz as well, just going to be able to translocate away and be able to heal back up. It's all about trying to finish off these picks in the backline, Vicky.
With this final fight, what NYXL was banking on was Fitz's EMP. That would have been huge if the EMP landed on some Fearless, but it didn't. So the primal came in right afterwards. The overtime is taken away in favor for the Outlaws. And with this quick swap from Happy, after coming back, now he's going to be on the far to disrupt the piece a little bit, clear out the rest of this point. NYXL almost trying to get that boop onto Kellen, but he was able to jump in before he gets deleted. But it's just a matter of time before they fall like flies.
Yeah, it's going to be a quick map number 1 here for the Houston Outlaws. But I gotta say, Vicky, I think that first map was actually way closer than people would have anticipated coming out there from New York Excelsior. And a lot of that came down to, I feel like, the individual composition differences that were there between the two teams in both of those rounds.
And I feel like the highlight that we got to mention out here when it comes to the different compositions is Fitz. Being on that Stormboard, you have your link on. You want to make sure that they won't have the backline support that they need. But, you know, when you're Fearless and you have Primal ready, it's not like you need all that support either. You can just go in for the reset instead, get that extra health. And we saw that a few times, which it was the problem for NYXL to flip the point back in their favor. The 2 times that it seemed like they were able to win, you had Fearless just dive right back in and actually stall at the point even longer to allow the rest of the team to trickle in.
Yeah, the stalls that we honestly saw from both teams in that second round were phenomenal. Whether it was going to be New York Excelsior trying to keep control of the point for as long as possible, or Houston Outlaws trying to draw it into that last fight territory, we saw some great plays come out here, and the star of the show has to be Pelican. Shu got a lot of credit going into that very first match that we saw from the Houston Outlaws, but Pelican just the follow-up that Pelican was able to get onto all of these low health targets really blew me away.
It was a really nice, strong dive that we really did see coming in from Houston. Pelican popping off. We saw some pretty nice antis coming in from Shu at some points here too. And also the sound barrier use, whether it was going to be to hold for the next fight or we're going to see which one was going to rotate out from the NYXL side and the Outlaws. Outlaws, they take map number 1. We got another map on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere. It's the Outlaws versus the NYXL.
Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade out. Damage, then you gon' pay up. Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade out. Damage, then you gon' pay up.
Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade out. Damage, then you gon' pay up. Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Turn it way up. Turn it way up.
Crank that volume, turn it way up. Way up.
Welcome back, everyone. The Outlaws take map number 1, and I'm excited to see how things go down in map 2 because I believe we have some change-ups here.
Looks like we are going to have a little bit of a switch up here when it comes to the lineup for the New York Excelsior. It will be Shockwave coming into the roster here for Fitz, and this is where I get really excited, Vicky, because Psycho and Shockwave, they were together in the Overwatch League. They ended up going over to Exoblivione to round out the European Contender season, grabbing wins in 2 separate tournaments, and now they are back as a fantastic DPS duo here in the New York Excelsior lineup as we head over to Kings Row for our next map.
Ooh, I'm so excited. And this makes sense here, too, because we ended the last match talking about the change-up with Fitz being on the Sombra. As we transition into Kings Row now, we're going to be able to have more of that verticality and those narrow sight lines that Shockwave is going to be able to expand on. So I'm excited to see how this is going to work out. And I love the history that we get to touch up on when it comes to both these players in the DPS lineup, especially since after what we witnessed in the first map, we were kind of, looking at the New York Excelsior expecting this. All right, well, after what we've seen with Outlaws, they're probably going to blow them out of the water, but didn't seem to be so significant where they were keeping it pretty tight. It was really Fearless that was the problem that made it difficult for the Excelsior to flip the point after a pretty long stall.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was a really great positional game here from both of these teams, honestly, in that first map, but this is where the going gets a little bit tougher. When you're looking at a control map, you're really looking at 2 teams being able to, kind of just bash into each other. But now that you're looking at these long straightaways, here comes the question of how are they really going to be able to navigate all of the different choke points as well as the flank routes that exist, especially on a map that is as known and as well played as Kings Row here. So right out of the gates, we're going to see New York Excelsior here on the defense. Houston Outlaws making a little bit of a rotation here with that Symmetric Teleporter before Pelican goes back over to the Tracer.
And talking about Pelican, what a performance in that first map. Just going to continue it on here, too. Can't wait to see more of Pelican out here on the Tracer. Fearless falling incredibly low. Creative on the high ground, trying to duke it out here with Violet. Has some help, though, to teleport on the other side at the same time. Right in the hands of Shockwave. Comes Kellen. He's going to be able to back away in time, Necro, but look how methodical it looks for both these teams to disengage from the Excelsior, too. Huge anti, the one to Kellen, and then the follow from Happy immediately right afterwards, but he gets burned for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's just great target calling, honestly, on both of these teams. It's going to be trades back and forth here before Fearless tries to go after the players that are in the window here for New York Excelsior, but Shockwave isn't going to go down without a fight here, Vicky.
Violet finds himself going down in the point, right in the line of sight of Shockwave, who is trying, well, whether he is getting pressed by Fearless, but he's unfazed at the same time. You can also see that Kellen is right there to hold his hand, and this is what we're talking about, the vertical sidelines. Happy answering right back as he makes his way right into his line of sight. Fearless gets hit with the anti, and then the sleep right afterwards. Left not giving him a good time. Nano online for both these teams coming up soon. Left is going to use it immediately right afterwards. Both Honors get taken down at the same time when the Nano boost was put on, but nobody to contest the point now. Payload activated, and the Outlaws are going to start getting some progress here.
Yeah, it was going to be some huge Nano Winstons there battling against each other, but Houston Outlaws able to convert that Winston over to more of success. So now Houston Outlaws getting that cart rolling. I mean, Fearless with the Nano is already going to be able to get up to the Primal range, so that was a really nice way to be able to top off that ultimate percentage, and Happy's not too far behind there with the Dragon Strike either. So a lot of disruption coming into the street space here of Kings Row as Houston Outlaws start to round this corner from the bookstore, but Vicky, where in New York going? They just popped out of nowhere.
Oh, they're coming from the skies. It is raining. Excelsior Psycho is going to be raining right back into the spawn room, though. Here comes a sound barrier from Violet that you made mention of. Going to be able to try to cover the rest of this corner right now. They saw the Dragon Strike coming in from the back line. You can see he was just trying to look to his back, wondering, okay, well, that just came out from the other side here. They try to shoot that while at the same time Fearless was harassing them in that choke point, but this is a good look for the Outlaws. Meanwhile, Excelsior have to get the memo that they have to contest this payload on the other side by the second point.
I don't know. I think they thought they were playing the attack or something. I'm not really sure, but they were behind the Outlaws, and I hope that that's going to be enough to be able to give them a bit of an advantage as that payload starts to make its way towards that second checkpoint. But Fearless has no fear. Vicky, he's just taking out members of the New York Excelsior left and right.
And Happy's going crazy here too. From the very beginning, well, he was able to clear up that high ground. Now they're going to be able to clear up the second point. They're going to be able to move right past the second corner, which is going to be important here too, because this is where you're going to expect the Excelsior to get set up. They're playing a little split at the moment, but they are looking fantastic in terms of time here too, Necker. Look at this. 4 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, and Shu is already going to have another nano boost to boot, so Fearless probably going to be on the receiving end of that one, just to make sure that that Primal Rage is ready to go. And what a great ultimate rotation that Houston Outlaws really have right now. Fearless is going to get quite low here, but after he gets topped up, I feel like that's going to be the time for the engage to happen here as Shu gets ready to go.
Especially when it comes to trying to make sure that these high ground spots in this last point is cleared up too. See Lep just trying to get into position. Shockwave wants to try to contest on an off angle. And a boost online like you were talking about. Probably to start that engagement here. Comes a Dragon Strike on the other side to just split up the rest of the Outlaws. Just avoiding that. Well, still getting some progress on the payload here. Look at Kellen having to back away in time, looking to find an opportunity to re-engage because they don't have the nano boost on their side, but they do have that sound barrier.
Yeah, the sound barrier is going to be super important here, especially now that you can see the nano boost getting donated over to Fearless. Pelican also with a pulse bomb ready to go. This is going to be a lot of damage incoming here from the Outlaws.
Sacco also trying to find an opportunity as a sound barrier now from the Outlaws gets activated. Fearless is about to get Primal. Huge anti onto Pelican, but not before he finds Creative. That's why he got antied. He was right in the back line, harassing the rest of the Excelsior. And now they're going to be able to clear this point. Yes, the Primal has been activated from Kellen, but the desperate change up here as Lep is going to have to come out of the spawn room. He tries to get reset with the own spawn room, and the payload's already at the finish line here, Necron.
Yeah, that payload is about to go ahead and go over the line here. We are going to see New York Excelsior try their best, but the Dragon Strike is splitting up all of the defense.
And into the line of sight of Pelican, who's going to be able to find Creative. Fearless is moshing over here on the payload, just trying to split up the rest of the Excelsior, who are nowhere in sight. That payload got to the finish line with 2 minutes and 53 seconds to their name.
Yeah, and Fearless and Pelican didn't die. The entire push, they did not die a single time. Hats off to Shu and Violet for making sure that both of those players could stay up and putting the pressure onto the New York Excelsior. But I feel like this is just kind of what we've come to expect from this team that, you know, Houston Outlaws, they're a little bit warmed up. They had a great match versus the Toronto Defiant just a little bit ago, and so now they really are in peak form here. But we'll have to see what happens now as we start to switch sides.
With perhaps some change up here too from the Excelsior side, because Creative and Lep were not having a good time, unfortunately. And the Outlaws, you mentioned it perfectly. Pelican and Fearless did not die once. I think Happy died only once too, that entire game. Happy was going off. It's very impressive to see the way that Shu and Violet were also... Violet specifically want to highlight how he was able to help with the counter rotates and the disengagement that we saw a few times from Outlaws. Here comes Pelican out here with the special delivery on the pulse bomb. Saw the anti at the very end, but not before the stick was done and backing away. And also we saw right there too, Violet in position to enable Pelican. That's what I'm talking about in just terms of just repositioning to even allow Pelican to be in those spots.
Oh my gosh, of course. Like that Lucio is so important to be able to help the DPS get back into position, or even to make sure that the dive is going to be faster coming in from Fearless. So you love to see Violet being able to play such a large role in that engagement process. But now that we've swapped sides, we're going to see Violet on at the Zenyatta. Vicky, you are so excited to see Zenyatta back in peak form, so I'm sure you're excited about this too.
Oh yeah, and it's Violet Zenyatta. This is going to be interesting. I love it. And Happy coming down from the high ground real quick, just putting in some extra pressure onto Kellen. Creative can't say the same after getting hit with that anti. It was a trade for anti though too, because Shu falls incredibly low and also gets antied on the other side. The follow from Shockwave from the distance, but this is why we're seeing the Zen from Violet again. on King's Road, you can hang out on the high ground, you can put down those Discord orbs so that way you can just enable Pelican and Happy from doing what they do best. Yes, Fearless gets taken down, and now this is going to be the opportunity for Kellen to try to move in. He's going to definitely need some help here from Creative and Lep, though, because look on the off angle, it is going to be Psycho looking for an opportunity to try to press onto the backline from the high ground.
Yeah, and you can see where maybe the swap to Zen there makes it a little bit more difficult for Houston Outlaws to actually keep control of the defense on this first point, especially after you lose line of sight. If you go beyond the Mondada statue, then you're out of line of sight there of Violet. But enough time has been bought there by the DPS for the Houston Outlaws that Fearless is back and Fearless is hungry. Pelican's already taken another pick.
And that was thanks to that Discord orb there too. The quick sweep up. Looked like he just mowed down Psycho there. Psycho's gonna be able to come back with that pulse bomb. Pelican too to match that. Violet's close to that transit. She's about to get that nano boost as well as Creative too. So see the Excelsior trying to take a slower approach around the statue, but time is ticking. You got 2 minutes and 10 seconds on the clock now to get that payload moving.
Yep, and this is really where we're going to see New York try to throw as much at the wall and see what's going to stick here. It's going to be the nano first onto Kellen, but he gets slipped immediately.
Psycho's not having a good time here with this follow-up. Between Violet and Pelican, this is a problem. You see Pelican does get put to sleep, but Fearless immediately tries to body block without having to burn the shield, and it doesn't even matter even though he uses that little lip of the statue to get on top of the high ground. Kellen just blasts him. Winston energy right here. Kellen's also about to get that Primal Rage ready, and Fearless gets hit with an anti. No follow-up just yet as Kellen's trying to dive onto the supports.
Yep, I mean, Kellen at this point is really waiting for the perfect opportunity to go in for the Primal Rage. Gonna try to rotate through the sound barrier first there from left before absolutely going ape mode. What's he gonna be able to get with this? It's gonna at least be to disrupt the backline here.
It was to try to target Violet too. They knew that Violet had transit. He was able to pop it, at least restabilize for a brief moment, but they didn't get much done in terms of positioning after that trans was activated here. Now the nano boost gets rotated in where Fearless is going to be able to clear the front line alongside Pelican, but it bought them enough time with that trans that also cost the Excelsior a lot. You saw that nano boost coming in. You saw that sound barrier that was used up by Lep and Kellen as well, who had to burn the Primal.
Yeah, I love that you called out there with 2 minutes remaining. New York Excelsior had a lot of ultimates on the board, and that really was their time to try to capitalize on them and get as much progress as possible. They did walk away with 2/3 of that first point, so it's just going to be another 33% there that they have to capture in order to unlock it, but that's a big pick there on the Shockwave. A couple of trades going back and forth though, Vicky.
Fearless is just blasting the rest of the Excelsior right here. Happy makes the swap over to the Sombra real quick here. See them, they're so close to getting this payload moving finally. Psycho gets that trade onto Fearless. That was a huge problem. They finally get the payload to start moving now as the Outlaws are going to be able to reset back in. They're maybe going to try to contest by that next corner where you could see Shockwave just now trying to get set up.
I think this is okay, though. I mean, look at some of the swaps that New York Excelsior made here. Creative going over to the Kiriko and Shockwave going over to the Sombra. And this is where a lot of those flank routes can be really oppressive onto the defensive team. So you can see Shockwave, Psycho, both really trying to get into the back line and turn the attention onto them so that a little bit more card progress can be made before this very first team fight happens. Houston, of course, as the defending team, would love to stop the cart here. That would put them in such a commanding position.
Especially with how confident Fearless is playing, but Happy going down first is not what you want to see when you want to build into the EMP. That Shockwave is going to beat you in first now. Shockwave already has it activated. A nice anti into Lep and Kellen, who also has the Primal. Here comes Shockwave with the EMP. Finds Shu and Fearless. Shu can't get that nano boost. He doesn't stay alive long enough. And without Violet, no sustainability is left from the Outlaws. Great news here for the Excelsior to make sure that this next corner right here is also cleared up for their second point.
I mean, what an amazing timing there for the EMP as well from Shockwave. It was before Violet or Shu had their support ultimates online, so no Transcendence to be able to come in and save Houston Outlaws' day. On the flip side of things, though, you have Happy getting ready to go with an EMP of his own, but Left now, ready with the sound barrier coming in clutch.
Oh, that was okay. With sound barrier coming in from Left, yeah, you saw that EMP go out. Kellen was also really quick to stay on top of it with that barrier here. Violet finds Psycho. You see Violet now being a problem in the backline. The dive coming in from Kellen, and Creative now coming in with the Kitsune Rush. Fearless finds Lep, so they don't have that sustainability, just minus off of that rush, but the Transcendence is going to put the Outlaws back in the driver's seat, especially to cut them off from being right there on that second point.
Yeah, that worked out so nicely when the Outlaws did have the Transcendence and the Nano online for this particular fight. And so despite the fact that maybe you would look at that as a great tool to have defensively against the EMP, I mean, it was great just for the onslaught of damage that was incoming from the New York Excelsior at all. So you love to see that conversion over. Houston Outlaws, they do lose Pelican here, but now they've got to hit the go button really fast and get the gas in, because they need to get it done before Pelican's able to get back into this fight.
I like how they've been able to nail, though, that Pelican's been a huge problem, and that follow-up was important. Pelican will be able to get back just as quick now, especially since Fearless has the Primal. He's going to be able to stall. Psycho with a huge pick onto Violet, though. That'll leave Shu for that sustainability. And with Shockwave getting these hacks here, Fearless needs to be careful. He does get he just popped the Primal before the EMP gets unleashed, so Pelican can't blink away now, having to play from the back right just a little bit, playing patiently before the EMP runs out. Fearless falls low. Shu and Violet are going to make his way back. Kellen's on the high ground and finds Fearless. Outlaws, they're dropping here, and Shu is about to get the nano boost. Pelican and Happy backing away in time too. They're just going to let them take that second point, and clearing up this corner was more important here for Outlaws to make sure that they could re-sustain themselves, while the Excelsior is going to be able to move the payload.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was such a clutch out moment there from the New York Excelsior. They had 10 seconds left on the clock before that big team fight happened right at that second objective. But now that they're rounding the corner, Vicky, like, Houston want to shut them down here, and a big pick on the creative is a great way to kick that off.
Especially since he was so close to the Kitsune rush as well. See Fearless duking it out right now with Fearless. Kellen is the one, though, that has a reset on the Primal. He was fighting for that high ground, forced to jump down. Also has that pocket that you currently see from Lep, who also has a sound barrier. So playing a little split up right here, while Happy has that EMP ready too. So wants to be able to have that opportunity to find the Excelsior while Kellen takes a nap. The rush comes in. Here comes the EMP, though, from Happy. Doesn't get the progress that they expected now that Lep was out of that sight and was able to pop the sound barrier. Transcendence to match that. Kellen falls super low, having to back away. That was so much damage being done by the Outlaws.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big setback here for the New York Excelsior as well. They threw 4 ultimates at that fight, Vicky, and now there's only 10 seconds remaining for anybody on the New York Excelsior to be able to come back. It looks like it's going to be up to Shockwave here to try to stealth their way onto the point, but Creative gets taken out here. What a huge source of support. Vicky, they can't touch! They can't touch!
No. Excelsior can't make it back, and the Outlaws take a clean 2-0 in the last series of the day, Necra. We were looking at the changes that were coming in, though, from the Excelsior. They got something cooking by the end of that second checkpoint, but unfortunately, even playing split up like that, I like their creative angles that they wanted to go for the rush, but it wasn't working out for them there at the very end. The Outlaws looking so good after today's progress.
No, they look amazing. I feel like this is a Houston Outlaws squad that people are really going to be keeping their eyes on as just kind of a force to be reckoned with throughout the season. But I still feel like New York Excelsior put up a great showing. That first map was pretty close. And at the end of the day, I feel like when they started to get a little bit more creative, like you said, on King's Row, it did start to convert over a little bit, just a little too late. But at the end of the day, Houston Outlaws with another dub. Let's see who our player of the match is going to be as well.
It's got to be Pelican. We talked about it around the end of that last match here. Sometimes you got to focus on the problem, and the real problem here was Pelican. That's why we saw that Sombra swap up originally to match that too. Outlaws answered right back as well. Pelican with these pulse bombs, though, especially here, so nice. We saw it a few times on King's Row when they were the ones on the attack originally here too. But I want to say, the follows between Pelican and Fearless were next level. And then you add Violet being on the Zen on top of that, the Discord orb, you already know that Pelican is going to be right behind you. This was a great showing here from Pelican. Going to be able to take a look at the stat card here too. Got over 8.8k damage. You'd like to see it. 22 elims as well. Pelican looking fantastic. I think by the end of that first map that we just got to see, I think he only had like 4 deaths. So that sustainability was definitely out here.
Oh, well, for sure. I mean, like, Pelican as a tracer can definitely be a little more self-sufficient, but it doesn't hurt to have such a proficient backline behind you as well, just to be able to top you up in case you are in a little bit of a pinch. But phenomenal stuff there coming out from the Houston Outlaws, and I can't wait to see how New York is going to do in the next few matches. I feel like they are starting to blossom here, so let's see what else they have to offer.
Yeah, I'm excited to see more from this crew because we know already that there's been a lot of history. They got some matchups that they have to study for coming up soon. But that's going to be it for Necro and I, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to toss it over to the watch point. What were your thoughts after the last match?
Thank you so much, Nekra and Vicky. Yeah, what are our thoughts here on the Watchpoint post show, where we break down all the action for you as day one of our Pro-Am. Week number 2 is coming to an end. So as we just saw, the last match just wrapped up. We saw the Houston Outlaws coming out on top. But gentlemen, thoughts? Anything?
Houston are really good at Overwatch.
Houston.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to argue with Houston right now with how they're playing. But okay, that's my takeaway for Houston. We've talked about Houston enough today. They're really good. Pelican Tracer, phenomenal. It's put all of my doubts of them not having a Tracer player away from my mind. So they've solidified that. I was pleasantly surprised with this New York Excelsior team. Like, when you look at their team in a 5-player lineup and you're looking at the heroes they're playing, you're like, this actually looks like they could get something done. And obviously, I think on the second map, they lost a little bit of their coordination and it was a lot harder to keep up with the Outlaws. But in that first map, especially when you have Bits on his signature hero on Sombra, they look very coordinated and it made it very difficult for the Houston Outlaws to play. So there is a lot more to see from this New York Excelsior roster. Just kind of unfortunate that their first team they played against was the Outlaws.
Yeah.
I mean, I stick to the fact that I think it's fortunate because despite it being the Outlaws,
dying on this hill, I see.
I'm very determined. Listen, Vicky and Nekra agreed, so I'm right by default. That's how I see it. Now, however, joining us for the last interview of the day is no other than Pelican from the Houston Outlaws. Danny, take it away.
Thank you so much, Zoe. Player of the match, Pelican. Best bird, best tracer, maybe? Hi, Pelican, can you hear me?
Hi. 들립니다.
Oh, Pelican says he could hear me. All right, let's just jump right into the interview. I gotta ask you about your tracer because, I mean, Custa said it before. Last season, you said that you weren't that comfortable on that tracer, but like coming in this season to the Pro-Am, you are killing it on that tracer. So what went into just perfecting your tracer play? 자, 첫 번째 질문은 당연히 펠리컨 선수의 트레이서에 대해서 여쭤봐야 되지 않나 생각을 합니다. 이제 저번 시즌에 제 기억으로 이렇게 인터뷰를 할 때마다 좀 아직 트레이서가 좀 이렇게 좀 더 노력이 필요할 것 같다라는 말씀을 좀 몇 번 하신 것 같은데 오늘 보니까 아주 뭐 그냥 뭐 프로퍼 저리 가라 좀 이런 경기력을 보여주고 계신데 어떻게 해서 이렇게 좀 트레이서 실력이 이렇게 향상이 된 것 같으신가요?
뭐 일단은 스크림도 스크림이고 경쟁에서 트레이 원챔을 하다 보니까는 자동으로 실력이 좀 느는 것 같아요.
All right. I mean, it's definitely all the scrim time that I'm getting on that tracer. Not only that, you know, when I'm just playing on ladder, when I'm just playing by myself, all those, you know, all those practices that I got on the tracer is definitely, I think, showing in our matches. All right. My second question for you, Pelican, is you know, right now today you guys already played both of your matches. You guys have 2 more. You guys are 2-0. It's looking like you guys can go you guys can go undefeated and clinch a spot in your group stages. So how confident are you that you guys could go undefeated? 자, 두 번째 질문입니다. 이번 그룹 스테이지에서 지금 벌써 2승 무패 2경기만 더 이기면은 전승으로 이제 올라가시게 될 텐데요. 전승 어떻게 좀 펠리컨 선수 보시기에 가능하실 것 같으십니까?
이번 그룹에서 토론토가 좀 빡셌는데 이제 나머지 팀들은 뭐 그냥 편하게 해도 이길 것 같아서 네, 걱정 없습니다.
알겠습니다. All right. Coming into today's matches, I thought that, you know, other than Toronto, we knew that it was going to be sort of a difficult fight to win. But other than that, all the other teams in our group stages, I think, you know, I knew that it would be sort of an easy win for us and we could just go in with a comfortable feeling and we could still get the win. So yes, I think it'll be a very doable thing for us to go 4-0. All right, Pelican, that is it for the interview. Thank you so much. And again, big congratulations on the win. 자, 오늘 2승하신 거 축하드리면서 보내드리도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you.
That was Pelican from the Houston Outlaws. He got such a cheeky grin, that one. I like it.
I love it.
It's fantastic. Well, as expected, easy win. As expected, the Houston Outlaws showing up strong, but today we also got a good look at the Defiant and the Gladiators. So let's take a look at today's results. No big surprises here, I dare say.
Yeah, I think this is pretty much what a lot of people would have predicted from the matches so far. I was pleasantly surprised with some of these teams, though. Like, I think Washington and New York Excelsior, as much as New York Excelsior didn't get that win, there's some upsides to look at from a lot of these teams.
Yeah, we all chose Washington Justice, of course, right? No one went for Peps.
Yeah. We're all Justice fans here.
Yeah.
I think my big surprise here, and that's also a very positive surprise, was just Toronto Defiant. I think they look really, really good. Now that leads me into today's, big headlines, the big stories, your big takeaways. Danny, what's been on your mind? What do you want to tell the people?
All right, guys. I just want to tell you guys that power of friendship is real and is strong, and we've seen this for many times, at least 2 matches from Toronto Defiant. They're the American Tornado team coming into the Toronto Defiant, and their teamwork, that team synergy, I think has shown very, very well throughout both of their matches. Of course, they did lose to Houston Outlaws, but that was a really, really close game, and I think was very good Overwatch played by both of the teams. So I'm really excited for this Toronto Defiant team and this power of friendship. I want them to just hold it strong and keep going strong.
My favorite thing of this was when we interviewed Speedily and we asked him, how do you feel about the power of friendship? And he gave sort of like that smug smile when you're thinking about your significant other, And he was sort of like, we've got it good. Everything feels nice. And that's what it looks like in the server as well, right? Like they just really enjoy playing together.
Yeah, I remember that's what he said. He's like, I love just playing with all of my friends and I'm having a lot of fun. And it just really shows. Yeah. And I think that team synergy is also coming from that as well.
Yeah, this is the epitome of you love to see it. So we very much hope to see a lot more of that from the Toronto Defiant. I honestly feel like that bodes well for them for the rest of the season. I am very interested to see where their ceiling is, their skill ceiling, going up against some of the juggernauts. But as of right now, they are looking good. They're looking strong and definitely looking like a good contender here for the Pro-Am first things off. Now, Costa, what's been tickling your fancy today?
For me, it's going to be that I've sold all of my scrim box. That's it. I've decided that the market has crashed.
Finally.
The Gladiators have officially sort of put my qualms at bay. Obviously, not completely. I think that the Gladiators still have a long way to go. It wasn't perfect, and obviously it's just one match. But I like the look that we saw from them. Dante sort of talking about it of like, we just want to become as well-rounded as we can as a whole team, and then not just focused on the short-sighted matches that they have to play in this Pro-Am. And I think Kai and Kevster putting up great performances. We know how great of players they are. They look to be at that peak. And then, Babel really stepped up for me as well. Playing that Kiriko, very aggressive style, opening up a lot of lanes. So the Gladiators, I want to see more. I want to see that match in the way that we saw Houston Outlaws versus Toronto Defiant. When they're playing against great teams, I want to see them be competitive. We haven't seen it yet, but it's at least a good look.
I just feel like people jump the gun. They're looking at those scrims and they see a wonky comp and they're like, oh my god, they don't know what to play. It's like, well, they're just trying things out. Like, that's the whole point of a scrim. And we're still a way off.
We were bored. We were bored. We had nothing else to talk about. We may as well talk about the Gladiators losing.
Take whatever you can. oh, do. No, but I mean, Dante said it himself, right? Like, their players are just flying in right now. They didn't have that much practice time, as is the same with a lot of those teams. So they're still, finding that groove, figuring it out, and it looked like that in their match as well. Slow start, bit rocky, but then, they turned up the heat and they came out on top and looking really good at the very end of their series. So let's see if they can get the ball rolling here in the Pro-Am, and if that translates later, then of course to the regular season. However, let's take a look at tomorrow's matches, as Gladiators will indeed come up first. And they will go up against Team Peps. We have quite a few good matches here. Any of those which gets you excited?
I'm gonna be honest. I just want to see more from Toronto. So I'm looking for a Toronto 5 versus Redbird Esports. I don't think we talked a lot about Hydron, but Hydron was just so good. So I just want to just see him on that kill feed again and just dominating.
Boston Uprising, Los Angeles Gladiators. That is a banger of a match. If you are not there watching this one, then you are missing out. The Boston Uprising squad, with so many champions under their belts and under their team, we have no idea what to expect. And then the Gladiators, we've talked about their woes. We know that they're going to be good. How good are they? Are they good enough to beat Boston? It's going to be a banger.
Yeah, I'm excited for Boston as well. Just get a good look at them, because it's like, what, 5 years of diamonds in the rough, and now they finally purchased the diamonds. So let's see what they can do with the big stones.
They did purchase a lot of diamonds.
Yeah. They did. Yeah. That's what they did.
I want to add one more thing as well before we head off, and this is coming in from my producer's ear. If the Houston Outlaws do go 4-0 in their group, they will play against the San Francisco Shock in the first round if they get the first seed in their group, which has a lot of history as well. So I think we're all praying for that one to see the Houston Outlaws take that first seed.
Proper versus Pelican.
Yeah.
On Tracer.
Dor is putting it the right way. This is your POV if you're facing the Outlaws in 2023. Yeah. I mean, honestly, this matchup on paper in any previous year would have been like, okay, yeah, that's a GG for the San Francisco Shock. Alas, not this year. It might very well be the other way around, and that is very, very exciting. Now, however, this is the end of our post show. We thank you so much for watching. We will be, of course, back tomorrow, same time, same place, for more group stage action. Make sure to tune in. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Get in there. Checking in. Enemy inside.